Part of this video is sponsored by Brilliant. This is not your ordinary chicken sandwich. We've got shawarma style juicy chicken with a crispy skin, a shortcut Thoum that's creamy garlicky magic, a Yemeni Zhoug sauce that's herby, spicy and totally underrated, and a wild hack to add real smoky charcoal flavor right at home, no fire pit in sight. This recipe is bold, tastes insanely good, and the best part, you can have it in your hand in less than 25 minutes. How about that? So let me show you my twist on a Lebanese-style grilled chicken sandwich. This recipe, as you may have guessed, begins with good old chicken, and it's important to go for a whole deboned chicken leg. Now, here in Germany, those aren't super easy to find, but Turkish supermarkets, especially ones with a butcher, will usually have them. Some larger supermarkets do as well, and alternatively, you can debone them yourself or ask a butcher to do it if you're buying it there. It's not rocket science, but it's pretty important because honestly, chicken breasts simply won't cut it for this type of sandwich. But no matter where you're getting it from, just make sure to double check there are no little pieces of bone or cartilage left, and if they are, carefully remove them. There's not a whole lot we need to do to this chicken right now. Just season it a little bit. I like to hit it with some salt and a tiny bit of MSG. I start with the skin side, then flip it and season the flesh side. We can just set this aside, flesh side up, for a couple of minutes while we work on our little spice rub. This spice rub is what's gonna add a little bit of that like shawarma feel to our chicken, and you can absolutely adjust yours to your taste, but I am using a teaspoon of falafel seasoning first. This is just a little bit of a lazy shortcut. It's already got a lot of the spices in it that a shawarma seasoning would have, but you could also use an Arabic 7-spice or any kebab style spice mix you like. Anything that vibes well with grilled meat. I'm also adding roughly the same amount of curry powder. Again, just a shortcut because these already have a ton of overlap with classic shawarma seasoning. The final ingredient for the spice rub is a smoked paprika because we're obviously not going to be flame grilling this, so we want that smoky note to come from somewhere. And smoked paprika is one of two ways we're going to do that. The second one is even better, we'll get to that. So now we want to add a touch of oil to the spice mix, whisk it up and brush it only over the flesh side of the chicken. Then back into the fridge our chicken goes to marinate while we work on our sauces and condiments. But before we get to those, let me share a word from this video's wonderful sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. Instead of just watching lecture videos, I'm having fun experimenting and solving puzzles, so I genuinely get the topic I'm learning about. In the past few months, I've been learning so much with the help of Brilliant about topics that truly matter for me in my work or just for being alive in today's world. I can definitely say that I got so much better at things like data visualization and analysis, and I have a much better understanding of, for example, how large language AI models work. All thanks to Brilliant. It's perfect whether you're a beginner or more advanced, letting you dive deep and truly internalize the mechanisms behind a topic. That's because Brilliant's approach really sharpens your problem-solving skills, and also developing a steady learning habit with Brilliant only takes a few minutes each day. It's that simple. And because you're actively engaging with the material, it's far more effective than just passively watching lectures. It's helping you truly retain what you learn. To try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Andong or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Again, you'll find the link in the description below. Start building real lasting skills today with Brilliant. Thank you, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. All right, we're back and we're ready to make some Thoum, which is a delicious Levantine garlic sauce. Normally, it's made by emulsifying garlic and oil. Super rich, super fatty, and honestly, a bit of a pain in the to make. So here's a shortcut version. It's a little lighter too. As a base, I'm using good old labneh, which is kind of like a Middle Eastern cream cheese, adding a touch of mayo for that flavor and texture, and then I grate in just 1 clove of garlic. Grated garlic is potent, so don't overdo it. But now, if you've been watching this channel, you know I love amping up the garlickiness without the aggressive bite by adding dried garlic. But there is a little twist, because look at this. This is what we normally call garlic powder, which is dehydrated garlic. It gives a pretty mellow garlic flavor, I would say almost closer to roast garlic. What I'll be using today though is this, and that is freeze-dried garlic. You can already tell by the color that it's different, and it's got a much fresher flavor, but still a lot more mellow than raw. I like to just briefly crush that up in a mortar and then add it to the labneh. As a little twist, I like a little lime zest for that freshness, and hey, While we're at it, why not add a little squeeze of lime juice too? Then we're ready to season with salt and just the tiniest touch of MSG. Add too much and it's gonna taste like ranch, so beware. Now you wanna give it a mix and there's your quick, easy 5-minute Thoum. Looks pretty good already, but wait, there's another sauce that goes beautifully with the sandwich, and that is Yemeni style Zhoug. I actually don't know if it's pronounced Zhoug or something else. If you know, please let me know in the comments. Either way, Zhoug is a spicy cilantro and green pepper sauce. And as you might guess, it starts with a whole bunch of cilantro. If you can find the hardy kind of cilantro with these thicker stems that I have right here, go for that. The stems actually have tons of flavor, especially when blended, a lot more than the delicate leaves if you ask me. Then you also want to add some green peppers. I'm using these pointy green ones. I don't even know what variety they are. You can easily use jalapenos or whatever green peppers you like. Roughly chop them up and toss them in a food processor with 1 small garlic clove. Guys, we've already talked about this. 1 clove is enough if we puree this. It's potent stuff, okay? Now to season, we want to add some salt, a pinch of ground cardamom, a little bit of ground cumin, and again as a shortcut, some curry powder. Now we want to add in a little bit of oil, and careful, most recipes use olive oil here, but I actually find that it can go bitter when blended. Happens quite a lot. So instead, I definitely recommend using a neutral cooking oil. At this point, blend it all up, and okay, full disclosure, my food processor is not great. It's actually terrible. So use a good one. Do as I say, not as I do. So yeah, I wish this was smoother, but hey, for the tools I had available, it's good enough. At this point, you can taste and adjust the sauce to your liking. I like adding a splash of vinegar. It just helps with blending and adds a little nice tang. And then once you're happy with the flavor, stir in a good glug of olive oil. So we're doing that now for flavor. Just a very quick pulse to mix. Again, don't blend too long or it'll go bitter. Transfer to a container and boom, you've got spicy, herby, zippy Zhoug. Another perfect addition to our sandwich and any kind of grilled meat. But now for a true must-have for the sandwich, and that's pickles. But not just any pickles, Lebanese style pickles. You should have no trouble finding them at most Middle Eastern stores, but if you're looking for an alternative, I'd go for a kosher dill pickle, because these Lebanese pickles, they're salty, tangy, but not sweet at all. So something like a cornichon would not really work. But now, skillet time. Grab a big non-stick skillet, and here's the trick, we're starting cold. That's right. Place your marinated chicken skin side down into the cold pan. Then we turn it to medium heat, and this helps slowly render the fat from the skin and gives you an incredibly crispy result in just a moment. To help along though, we're gonna cover it with baking paper and press it down with something heavy, like a small cast iron pot. And after about 5 minutes, we can start checking underneath. If it's not quite there yet, put it back, let it cook for a little longer, maybe a minute or two, but eventually you'll get a gorgeous crispy skin, maybe even a little char. So at this stage, you flip it, you press it back down and let the other side crisp up. After around 10 minutes total, your chicken should be fully cooked and ready. But I've been teasing it long enough. Here's a cool optional trick. We're gonna fake that charcoal grilled flavor. Or actually, we're not going to fake the flavor, we're going to add real flavor, but we're faking the grill. The way this works is you grab a foil-lined ramekin, drizzle in just a tiny bit of that leftover spiced oil, and then you want to grab a little piece of wood or charcoal. I'm actually using a chip of wood that's specifically sold for smoking, but I think it would work with most types of wood. You light this up with any old lighter and just let it burn for, like a minute or so until it turns into a tiny piece of charcoal. Now, once that's red hot and glowing, you want to drop it into the little ramekin, which might extinguish it, but that's okay because it's going to start smoking. And then you want to act quickly and cover everything so it's in some kind of closed environment where you can let that smoke work its magic for a few minutes. Once you open it back up, you should actually see a nice puff of smoke. If you didn't, feel free to repeat the process one more time, or if you want extra smoky flavor, you can do that too. Now you can slice up that juicy, smoky chicken. It's insanely tender at this point. Just look at this. Oh my God. And now, as always, my favorite part, the assembly. Grab a piece of Lebanese pita, the thin kind, this one. You could use a flour tortilla if that's what you got, that'll work just fine. Now, there are a few different ways to do this. Now, we're gonna start with the first one, and that is adding a smear of hummus onto our pita, then a dollop of labneh Thoum, some of our chicken, of course, a bit of Zhoug, and my favorite secret weapon, pomegranate molasses. These are sweet, tangy magic that if you haven't tried, You absolutely should. It tastes incredible. Optionally, a few drops of your favorite hot sauce, and don't forget those Lebanese pickles, of course. Now you want to roll it up, and of course, if it's not tight, it's not right. If you know, you know. For this version, no need to close the ends. This is the classic Lebanese street food wrap. What you do have to do though is toss it back into the skillet to crisp up and reheat in some of that lovely leftover rendered chicken fat. Then you move it over and wrap it in parchment for that real street food look and for it not to fall apart. The second version is same but different. We also start with a smear of hummus, chicken, some Thoum, some hot sauce, a sprinkle of parsley or cilantro now, and of course our pickles. You might notice we're using a little bit less sauce this time. And then this one you roll up burrito style, so you fold in the ends. You do of course still want to crisp it up in some of our leftover chicken fat, and then this wrap's a bit plumper and maybe a little bit easier to eat. But hey, who am I to judge? You be the judge. Of course, with our delicious sauces, I like drizzling a little bit more on top. You can do hot sauce, you can do Thoum, whatever you like. But actually there is a right way to do this, and that's eating this with copious amounts of Thoum. Just go for it, guys. Sahtain. These chicken sandwiches are so good. They're super quick to make, and I highly recommend adding them to your weeknight rotation. Let me know what you think, and if you've got ideas for how to take this even further, I'm all ears. Write it down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.